Hey everyone, welcome to day 3 of our Reese Sew-a-long. Today we're going to be sewing up our collar stand, and then we're also going to be hemming our garment. Before we do any sewing, we're going to press our interfacing to our collar lining. You want to make sure that you press wrong sides together. Double check the packaging for your specific interfacing just to make sure that you have the correct side. There is a noticeable difference. Even if you can't see it right away, you'll be able to feel the difference typically. Once you have your collar lining and your interfacing pressed together, we're going to flip it around so that it's right side up with the notch facing down, facing towards you. And then we'll take our main collar piece and find the wrong side of that to make sure that the wrong side is facing up. So you'll place the collar pieces with right sides together. Next, we're going to clip all 3 layers together. We're going to clip along both short edges and then one of the long edges. We will not be clipping or pinning the edge with the notch on it. Once you have all your pins or clips in place, we are ready to sew. You're going to stitch that together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Remember, we are only stitching up those 3 sides that we clipped or pinned. You are not going to close up the side with the notches. After we finish sewing, we're going to trim that seam allowance with just pinking shears, and I angle the corners just a bit to make turning it a little bit easier. Once you've trimmed all 3 sides, go ahead and use your favorite turning tool to turn it right side out. Really make sure you press those corners out as best you can so you get a nice crisp finish. After you've turned right side out, go ahead and give it a good press, and then we are going to top stitch. Remember, we're not going to stitch the notch side closed. We're only top stitching the other 3 sides. Now that our collar piece is assembled, we are ready to work on our collar stand. We're going to take the lining of our collar stand with right side facing down, and we're going to press the interfacing piece with wrong sides together. So again, double check your interface packaging, make sure that you're pressing the correct side. They should be wrong sides together. Before we attach the main collar stand piece, we're going to press toward the wrong side 1/2 inch. So you'll take the side with the double notches, not the single notch, the side with the double notches, and press it in 1/2 inch. Next, we're going to match up our main collar piece with our main collar stand piece. So first match up those single notches, put a pin or a clip there, and then we'll match up the edges. You can see I have space at the end here, and then I'm just going to clip along the rest of the edge. Once you have your clips in place, we're going to take our lining for the collar stand and again match up those edges and match up the single notch in the middle. Now for the collar stand pieces, the edges will match up. They will be the same width. So go ahead and clip those together. And keep your memory press, the 1/2 inch that we folded toward the inside, toward the wrong side. Make sure that you clip that as is. Do not unfold it. Once you have all of your clips in place, we're going to stitch that together. Again, we're just stitching along those 3 edges. Make sure that the piece that you folded up stays folded up. And you'll stitch this with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Trim the seam allowance with pinking shears. Again, double check the edges. I like to trim it just a little bit to make it easier to turn. turn the collar right side out. And again, use your favorite turning tool to press those corners out as best you can. You can see we still have the one edge open. That's how we will attach it to our neckline. Place the dress down with right side up. And then match your main fabric, the open edge, match that raw edge to the neckline of your dress. After I match up the center, I like to do the edges, and then I will place my clips along the rest of the neckline. Double check as you're clipping right now that you are only clipping the main fabric to the neckline. You should not be clipping the lining fabric. In this case, it's my green fabric. You can see I'm kind of pushing it out of the way. Make sure you are not clipping or pinning that part yet. Once you've clipped all the way along the neckline, again only with the main fabric and the neckline, go ahead and stitch those together with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. You can trim the seam allowance if you'd like with pinking shears. My pinking shears do not like this cream fabric. This is where that memory press will come in handy. We're going to press that seam allowance up and then enclose the raw edges using that memory press. This is one of the only times you'll see me use pins, but clips just really don't work for this step. So pin in place as you're enclosing that seam allowance, enclosing those raw edges. Once you have your pins in place all the way across the collar stand lining, we're going to top stitch in place to close up that opening and finish up our collar. Be sure to stitch as close to the edge as possible just to make sure that you catch all of those layers. Our last step for the collar is just to top stitch all the way around. Our other step today is to finish our hemming. I know that's not everybody's favorite part of sewing, but for wovens, it is an important step. You can see I finished the raw edge of my hemline just by serging it. I didn't cut anything off, I just did a quick serge all the way around the edge. The next thing I'm going to do is press the serged edge, that raw edge, toward the wrong side, 1/4 of an inch. And we'll do that all the way around the hemline. If your fabric is kind of finicky, you can pin or clip as you go. That is a little bit of extra time, but depending on your fabric, it may be worth it. After that initial 1/4 inch, you'll fold it once more. So a total of 1/2 inch, but 1/4 inch 2 times toward the wrong side. Pin or clip in place so that you're ready to hem. Once you have all your pins or clips in place, you're ready to go ahead and hem. Once you've finished hemming, that is it for today, day 3. We will see you back tomorrow for day 4. See you then.